Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you. Did Russia choose Ripple and XRP? How about an SEC Trojan horse? Oh, you're going to want to know about it. SEC versus Ripple. Jeremy Hogan says jury trial 2024-2025, is it? How about this? Could Swift hack become a black swan for a new financial system? Oh, and I got one more for you. Ripple announces a new central bank partner. That just happened. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. A little dramatic pause there. Sorry about that. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, the market is off by 4.3%. We're at $1.05 trillion for the market cap, 24,000 plus now for Bitcoin, 1,600 plus for Ethereum. Tether market cap, 83.4 billion, 47 cents for XRP, off by 6.7 in the 24-hour, 9.2 on the 7-day. Let's get started here, ladies and gentlemen. It's linked to, and don't mess around, ladies and gentlemen. Link 2 is back on the board, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you what, this is exciting. Don't forget about the Equality Investor Act for Everyone. Remember that? And I'm messing up the name of it now. I did write it down. Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act. And that was proposed by Representative Mike Flood. Now think about this for a moment here, because this is linked to, it's available back on the board. But just think about this for a moment. If that bill goes through, there's going to be an enormous surge of accredited investors that will be able to take a test instead of qualify through funds. And that will open up this market immensely. Now, I tell you what, if that happens, I'm going to be getting some more linked to. I can tell you that. You can get that and all these other amazing products right here at link2.com. Click that link underneath the video. Don't mess around. It doesn't last long. Now let's talk about this. Tether CTO addresses the situation as USD Tether loses its peg. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, here? It fell by almost 0.41% here, it says on Thursday, causing a panic in the crypto. And it says rising USD Tether balance on Curve3's pool may indicate traders exchanging USD Tether for other stable coins. Now, it has been destabilized a little bit here. And as we look at this, you know, I have to say, you guys know that I don't believe that we have any real crypto clarity in the digital asset space until we understand how the U.S. government truly feels, publicly announces how they feel about USD Tether. Period. Full stop. However, Paolo Ardino says that the CTO of Tether believes that the attackers are capitalizing on the general sentiment. Markets are edgy in these days, so it's easy for hackers to capitalize on this general sentiment. But at Tether, we are ready as always. Let them come. We're ready to redeem any amount. Okay, that's what they say, and I get it. But the reality is what does the Department of Justice and the U.S. Treasury say? I'm less worried about what Tether says, and I'm more worried about what they say. I'll wait for them. Meanwhile, while we're waiting here, Chinese bank BOCI issues country's first tokenized security on Ethereum blockchain. They're still leading the charge, ladies and gentlemen. Then there's this. This is a document that came out, and I have the document. And shout out to Ido Farina here, who put it forward. I think we covered this actually back in 2020, I think when the document came out. But nonetheless, knowing that there is a conflict in Russia and Ukraine, right? There's that whole deal, new financial system, BRICS coalition. You have to wonder if documents like these really are holding more credence today than they did when they were originally released. And here it talks about the most commonly used platforms for piloting financial organizations. And it does mention Ethereum, Corda, Ripple, Quorum, and Hyperledger Fabric. So we'll keep an eye on it. And it does also down here, if I just go to page 5, it gets into the use of XRP, the asset, Ripple, and how it works. I don't need to explain it to everybody. You know it's a bridge currency, right? So very interesting information. We'll have to follow it very closely to see if this happens. Now, I want to share this with you here because this is Google weighs in on what we're talking about here, which is new payment systems and how to use them, not only to move low value, but high value payments as well. And Google thinks this about FedNow. Hold on.
So what does Google think about FedNow? Well, Google's constructive. Some critics have referred to FedNow as Fed yesterday, and I suppose that's a reference to the fact that other countries such as the UK have had the capability for a long time. But here's what Google said to the Fed, which was constructive. They're encouraging the Fed to support low value and high value payments with the same service level agreement and very low processing costs, and to use standard messaging protocols, don't invent some new ones, and have extended and arbitrary metadata on top of that ISO standard for remittance information. And this relates to something we talked about in session 1, provides clear standards for an API layer. And that is incredibly important. So a dollar bill, as we talked about, is a bearer bond. There's not a lot that you can do with that dollar bill, but there's 2 really important things that you can do with the dollar bill. Well, first, we talked about you can take it to Federal Reserve Bank and get another note. And the second super important thing we talked about is its legal tender. And the tendering of it causes the extinguishment of a debt if you're within the bounds of the jurisdiction of the sovereign, as the sovereign interprets its jurisdictional bounds. And so, well, that's all super interesting and super important, but you notice that the actual dollar bill is quite a passive thing. It just gets handed around, and then there are a couple of side effects of its being handed around. In one case, the side effect is you get handed back another dollar bill. In the other case, the side effect is the extinguishment of a debt. But if money is programmable, well, it has an API. And once it has an API, you can do all things with that money. You can issue requests to the money through the API interface, and then under the hood, something complex and wonderful can happen. And so in that important sense, the money becomes information, and it becomes alive. And depending on the API and what happens under the API hood in the implementation layer, money can grow, it can evolve, it can change its value, it can enforce anti-money laundering and know your client, it can change its shape, it can participate in smart contracts. For instance, delivery versus payment in a securities transaction, something we will cover in detail in session 6. So when money becomes programmable, it becomes alive. It becomes a computer. It's not just this passive thing with side effects. And when it becomes alive, when it becomes something that can compute, it becomes something altogether different, altogether wonderful. And so, of course, Google is going to insist, as I would insist, that.
And there you have it. Now, this is actually from back in 2016, discussed during a Ripple presentation here, but I want to show you this as well. This was a part of the original tweet here, and shout out to Chad Steingraber here, who really posted all of that to begin with and shared that. And basically what he's showing here is that there was another hack stole $12 million from Swift, and he says they will hack Swift. It will be the largest hack to date. They will demand a replacement. Now, understanding the Russia-Ukraine conflict and that there was a specific threat from Russia that they would do a cyber attack on the banks, you have to wonder if the messaging system Swift would be included in that attack, because they directly issued the sanctions through the U.S.'s actions to harm Russia because of their actions against Ukraine. So this is something to watch out for, and I don't say this to be an alarmist, but we do have factors and reasons why we should pay attention to this potential threat. Now, taking a look at this around the world here, Hong Kong Monetary Authority says cites that the city's central bank is urging, this is unlike the United States right now, urging lenders to back the crypto exchanges like HSBC, Standard Chartered, and Bank of China. How about that for a change of pace? And Ripple's sustainable global expansion, despite the pressure from the U.S. and the SEC here, that is what we're talking about. And this is really Ripple expanding into Europe on the back of the MiCA regulations that we know about. And this is also more contrast that we're being accepted around the world in other places where we're being rejected in the United States. And then there's this guy, Mr. Kaplan, who testified for Prometheum in the FSC, the Financial Services Committee hearing yesterday or the day before. It's all running together for me now. But nevertheless, this is something that I have to agree with Digital Asset Investor here. I'm getting those spidey senses here in this one, and I can feel it too. He is dead set that actually Ripple is a security in his mind, and that's okay. Everybody has a right to their own opinion. But I'll tell you what bothers me about all of this is when you dig into Prometheum, Mr. Flood, Representative Flood, pointed out that it is nonsense, that platform, because they were issued a special purpose broker-dealer's license, but yet he admits that you cannot use any of the platform to trade Bitcoin or Ethereum, even though they were given that special purpose broker-dealer's license. And it's backed by the SEC. It was issued to the SEC. And I'll tell you something else, too. There is evidence starting to show that this may be backed, Prometheum's platform and company may be backed and affiliated with the Chinese government, the CCP. There's very questionable things here, and I'm calling for all Twitter sleuths. This is a new rabbit hole. We need to find out what's going on here with Prometheum and everyone involved there. There's more information here. Guess who profited from the FTX collapse? It's Wan Zhang. Wan Zhang is an investor in Prometheum, ladies and gentlemen. Wan Zhang, early Ethereum backer. There are more questions and answers here. Why is the SEC issuing a special purpose broker-dealer's license to this gentleman and Prometheum, knowing that there's a potential CCP connection? Quite disturbing. But this isn't. This is very exciting. This right here is the announcement of Ripple and Pyrrhus partner with Colombia's Banco de la República in advancing the implementation and the utilization of blockchain technology. Come on in. Yeah, exactly what's going on here is that Anthony Welfare, Ripple advisor, says he's excited to share the next steps of the journey, partnering with the central bank there. He says the implementation and utilization of blockchain technology, the pilot program will elevate high-value payments use cases. High-value payments use cases, just like the ones that were talked about in that older video there we just watched. Using Ripple's CBDC platform based on the core technology of the XRP ledger. This is yet one more real-world use case for CBDC and the XRP ledger. That's exciting. But let's bring it back ground level here. I have one more clip from these amazing attorneys who sat down and showed all of crypto Twitter how you can talk and not agree and still have an incredible conversation. I want to shout out all those gentlemen for that example and their insights and amazing perspectives. But listen to Jeremy Hogan here talk about the possibility of SEC versus Ripple and some of that decision going to trial 2024, 2025. Take a listen.
Really appreciate your input, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is just kind of inform people that hold XRP that don't have legal background what's going on, what to expect. And sometimes we get it wrong, sometimes we get it right. But we really appreciate your input for sure. I think, and I disagree a little bit with you, Mark, as far as, how these emails could be used, because to me, I see a lot of fodder in here at trial, if it does go to trial, maybe next year, maybe early 2025, because.
Now that's an amazing thing. And look how politely they disagreed and nobody got pissed off. I tell you, I long for the day on Twitter.
I think what you're seeing is evidence that's going to be used as to what when you have the regulators themselves having these discussions. I know that's how the SEC operates, but when you can get that information in front of a jury and you can say, look, Ripple's being charged with, breaking the law, they're horrible people, look at what they did. And then you see that the SEC, the regulators themselves, were also having some confusion, also arguing over what these things mean. I guess for me, when I go to trial, and I'm in the middle of one right now, but I see myself as a lawyer, my job is to make my client look good and to make the other guy look bad. And I think these emails could be used not so much to make the other guy look bad, but certainly to paint the picture of an SEC that was as confused as Ripple was. And I think if you can get that in front of a jury, not so much a judge maybe, but in front of a jury, I think you could definitely use these emails to paint a fair notice defense. And I know that it hasn't been a particularly strong defense in the past, but this isn't just a defendant who's coming in saying, well, I didn't know what the law was, therefore don't find me guilty. The SEC has done a lot of affirmative things with the FinCEN settlement and all of the guidance that they gave, and some of the contradictory guidance, because now they've backed off, I think, this William Hinman speech to an extent. But I think with all the affirmative things that the SEC has done, I think if you can get this all in front of a jury, I think you have a good shot at the fair notice defense.
And there you have that. I tell you, we could be days away at this point from a decision from Judge Torres. And I couldn't be more excited to get it, because whatever it is, let's rip the Band-Aid off and find out what's underneath of it. That's where I'm at on this day. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. But I'll tell you what else, jury trial, appeal court, Supreme Court or not, seeing adoption around the world keeps me excited for the next thing to come. Not financial advice. I'll catch all of you on the next one.